Hey guys, welcome to Alaska, but not just any place in Alaska. This is the furthest place you can drive a car in North America. And I'm here to report that we're the first, yes indeed, the first to do something very special, that is drive that. The Ford F-150 Lightning, an electric truck, all the way up to Dead Horse, Alaska, or Prudhoe Bay, which is actually an oil field. And in this video, I'm gonna kind of walk you through how we started and did this 4,000 plus mile journey, because if you've been following us, you know that we started by picking up this truck in Michigan, and then we road tripped it to Colorado, through all these states, and then eventually we drove it through all of these states, even the Yukon Territory, up here to Dead Horse, Alaska, because we want to be the first, like I said, to drive an electric vehicle all the way to as far north as you can drive in North America. Now, this has been quite the journey, and we are documenting it over at TFL Truck. If you want to see that series, it's publishing every Saturday. You can just go to alltfl.com. But in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it's like to drive an electric truck 4,500 miles, and especially what it's like to drive it from Fairbanks, where the fast charging ends, up here with basically no infrastructure. And first and foremost, you have to do it with the help of friends like this company that is allowing us to steal their electricity using basically a level 2 charger, which has its own problems. And those problems are actually quite daunting, because what we did to this truck to get it up here on the Dalton Highway was to first and foremost put on some off-road tires. These are BFG Goodrich all-terrains, because the road is very rough. The Dalton Highway is mostly unpaved, muddy as you can tell, and full of all kinds of obstacles, and that took our range down by 10%. So we started at about 300 miles of range, and then our friends at 4-Wheel Campers gave us this. It's really not a sliding camper, it's just kind of the top of a camper so we could camp, and that also took our range down. So we basically went from an effective range of about 320 miles to about 200 miles. And that got really tricky, because from Fairbanks to the halfway point, which is a little truck stop called Coldfoot, it's 250 miles, and then another 250 miles to get all the way up here. So you may be wondering how we managed to do that with an effective range of only 210 miles or so. Well, we found some interesting tricks. One of them, of course, was we added this little fairing up here. It's kind of homemade, as you can tell, our friends at Colorado Fairings did that for us. We're calling this series, of course, Northern Lightning Amps to Alaska, and that helped with a little bit of the aero, but there's a lot more tricks. And if you want to learn about those tricks, I'll be happy to tell you, but we're going to do it over at the series that we're publishing, the truck, so you're going to have to watch it. But let's do a couple things in this video. First and foremost, let's talk about what it's like to drive a truck that far, an electric truck, and then we'll give you a little tour of Dead Horse, Prudhoe Bay, so you can see what this is. And as you know, the Dalton Highway follows the Alaskan pipeline, and this is basically an oil field. But first and foremost, the way we were able to get the truck up here was we got ourselves this charger, and this is a 40 amp charger. Ford gives you a 30 amp. So right now we're charging at 37.8 amps at 7.97 kilowatts, which means that even at that more advanced rate of charge, it still takes about 4 hours to charge this truck. Let me show you. And that's a problem, because it means we spend a lot more time charging and a lot less time driving. Come on in the truck with me and let's see how much energy we've gotten. Keep in mind we plugged this in last night at midnight. So it's now 11 o'clock. So over the course of, right there, over the course of the entire night, we've charged up the battery 74%, which is not enough actually to get this truck back down to Coldfoot for our next stop, so we can get it back down to Colorado eventually. And that's really been the tricky part of this drive. Every place we go to, we show up, find chargers, there are none. Every time we show up about midnight. Luckily, we do have a little ace in the hole, and that is because we're so far north, we are experiencing 24 hours of sun, which is pretty cool. So if you look over there, that's the oil field, and that is not the Arctic Ocean. We just came from the Arctic Ocean, but literally 1,200 miles north of here is the North Pole. So we are about as close to the North Pole as you can drive in America. And then obviously you've probably heard of Prudhoe Bay or Dead Horse. It's really the same thing. This is an oil field. The pipeline, which follows the Dalton Highway, was built back in 1977, and this is where a lot of the Alaskan crude comes from. The reason that you can drive up here is because the road follows the pipeline, so that the trucks can come up and down and actually do a little bit of pipeline maintenance, and then of course bring supplies up here. But it's not an especially pretty place. It's you know, it's an oil town. It's a working town, and really, you know, this epic road trip in an electric vehicle was definitely more about the journey than the destination. So I'm going to drive just a little bit out of town. I'm going to show you the beauty that is, you know, the tundra. We're about 400 miles north of the Arctic Circle right now, and when we went over Adigan Pass yesterday, we actually crossed over into the tundra, and the first thing you'll notice if you look around, there are no trees. There's certainly caribou, there's a lot of wildlife, but no trees. Grizzly bears as well. So it's got kind of this austere beauty to it. And once we leave actually the oil fields, and we get kind of past all of the drilling rigs, you can start to see just how beautiful it is up here. Now, in the winter, not only do you not have any sunlight, you get 24 hours basically of dark, you also get temperatures ranging as far as 40 degrees below zero, which means that electric vehicles are probably going to suffer. So this is probably the only time you can come up here in an electric car. And there is a rally that's coming up here August 12th with all kinds of electric cars. So if you want to be part of that, just click on the link in the description below. We'll do a link to it, and you can actually drive up here as part of the rally, because they're setting up an infrastructure for charging. We unfortunately did not have the benefit of an infrastructure, and it's temporary only. So we had to kind of make things up as we went along. But you know, as a road trip truck, the Lightning is actually really superb. I mean, you know, once you get past the fact that you have limited range, the ride is superb, independent suspension all around. It has a payload of 1,600 pounds, which we maxed out with all of us in here, videographers, gear, you know, the camper. These off-road tires are spectacular because there are very sharp rocks along the Dalton Highway. Like I said, most of it is still dirt, and it's very easy to puncture a tire, and we've had none of those problems. It also has tons of torque, tons of space, and as a road trip vehicle, except for, of course, the range, it's almost, I would say, ideal. Now, you know, this is the beginning of electric trucks, right? When you think about it, this is kind of the Model T of electric trucks. It's Ford's very first electric truck. So, of course, you know, there are still issues. But as a first attempt, I really find this truck incredibly comfortable and actually just an incredibly fun vehicle to drive, especially off-road. So I'm going to pull over here. We're going to show you kind of the tundra so you can see the beauty of this place. And then I really hope that you guys come and check out the series we're doing, because this has been obviously a team effort. So it's taken much of the team at TFL to accomplish this journey. And of course, we've gotten and met a lot of fantastic people along the route. I mean, you drive a truck for 4,500 miles, you're going to meet a lot of very interesting people. And we're going to tell their stories as part of this series. So come on out with me. Let's check out the tundra. So this is the local river, and we have spotted caribou, we have spotted geese, we have spotted muskox, and it's just been an incredible trip. And to be up here, in an electric vehicle is really great. So I want to thank all of you guys who have been supporters, our Patreon supporters of TFL, and all of our viewers, of course. And I just want to say thank you, and be sure to head on over to alltfl.com over the weekend and check out the series, actually show you how we manage this very, well, I'm kind of tired and kind of exhausted, actually, grueling feat of getting an electric truck. It's not that grueling. I mean, it's not like we're, you know, doing the Shackleton expedition. But anyway, it's been fun, and be sure to check out that series. And yeah, we got to just get the truck back to Colorado, and that's only 3,500 miles. No biggie. See you guys next time. Ciao.